The first one to say first. Gilberto. What's up, guys? Who want to come up and have an argument?
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well, man. Question would be, was Jesus a Christian himself? I know.
Was he a follower of himself? Was that your question?
Yeah.
How can
did he
someone
Moses?
just follow himself?
Okay. So what was he then before Christianity?
Before Christianity?
Yeah.
He was and always was God.
He was and always was God.
Mm-hmm.
So is this the same God that in example Matthew 26:39 or John 17:3 or John 20:17?
Well,
Jesus
the son and nobody's upset, bro. I don't know what the hell is going on in your head.
Bro, don't get like annoyed or upset me.
Nobody's annoyed or upset, bro. Dude, you're like creating these things in your head.
Answer the question.
Yeah, dude, you're just creating these things in your head, bro. Yeah, he's the same God as the Father and the Holy Spirit. Yes.
So Jesus is not the Father or the Holy Spirit. He's not.
No, he's not the Father or the Holy Spirit, but they're the same God. They're the same being.
They're the same God. They're the same being. Are you and your father, let's say you have a brother, all the same?
We have the same nature.
You have the same knowledge?
No, we're separate beings.
So is that the same as what it says in the Bible that Jesus didn't have the same knowledge as God did?
No, it doesn't say that.
I can show you that Jesus had no knowledge. Like example.
Yeah, you're going to go to Mark 13:32, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have the same knowledge.
All right. Okay. John 17:3. What does Jesus say? There is only one true God. What does that mean? There is only one true God, and that God sent Jesus. What does that mean when Jesus says that?
Yeah. So the Father is the one true God. He's the same God as the Son and the Holy Spirit.
So there can only be one true God. There can't be two, three. There's only one, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't think the Father, Son, Holy Spirit are three gods. They're the same God.
They're the same God.
Mm-hmm. I said that already.
Okay. So in John 20:17, when Jesus says, I am going to my Father, your Father,
my God and your God.
And your God. What does he mean? Why is he going to another God?
Yeah. It's not another God. It's just that.
Remember, listen, they're all in one. But the second one, because the Holy Spirit, I don't know where he is wandering around. So the second one has to go to the Father and God. Why is that?
Yeah, because he's in the flesh, and God is the God of all flesh. So he's just referring to the Father. If you let me finish, hey brother, notice how I'm being very patient and listening to you. And when no you're not. I'm all right, bro. Here, I don't know why you're getting so emotional, bro. Like you need to just chill out, bro. Just let me finish answering, and then you can respond, bro.
I knew you was gonna get upset, getting your feelings.
Bro, nobody's upset. You're the only one that's being emotional right now. I just wanna answer the question so you can respond to it.
Being patient.
Yeah, well, you're not cooking anything right now. You came across the wrong Christians today, bro. Actually, you have all these basic Muslim arguments that have been refuted over and over and over. I refute the same arguments every day.
God, why have you forsaken me? Why is Jesus crying to God if he's God?
Okay, I'm going to go back to the other one. I'm going to go back to the other one.
He goes, why is Jesus crying to God?
All right, bro. Hey. Yeah, you're in bot mode, bro. See you later. Kick rocks. Hello, my love.
Hi, my baby.
Yeah, it's just Tori, it is. It's just so repetitive, and then they think they're doing something. It's just like somebody said they like Muslims have like main character syndrome. Like they think they are the main character in everybody's story. You know, the guy really thought that he came up on here and just completely destroyed my worldview, as if like these arguments have not been presented to me thousands of times. What's up?
God, pray to God, cooked you so quick.
So stupid, yo. What's up? Yo, you're really low. No. I mean, it's better, but it's still not good.
We can't hear you. We cannot hear you.
Still can't hear you, bro.
We cannot hear you. Drop it, come back or something. Fix your headphones.
It has to be his mic. I don't even think he needs to drop. No, it's not better, bro. You gotta stop buying headphones in the gas station, bro. Start getting something different. What's up? What's up?
Yeah, I'm just saying, good job. I love Christians and keep this going. And all these Muslims, get out. Just like, get out. Christians.
No, I don't want them to get out, but thank you, Lil Key. Appreciate you. You Lil Key, though. I know you're on summer vacation, but what's up? If you're talking, we can't hear you, bro.
It's even worse.
Sky, bro. Yeah, we can't hear you, bro. Sorry, dude. Just can't do it.
What's up?
What's up?
How you doing?
You doing good? How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Do you remember me?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, no problem. So last time when we talked, you pointed out to me in the Quran that Allah created evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you said this is the consensus of the Ashara and the Ataris, that this is a common thing in Islamic theology. So I wanted you to point out the evidence that you kicked me, because you said I wanted to get a dub so bad. But
I don't remember
we
the
can talk
convo.
about the verse if you don't want to show me the evidence.
I just want to know why you're not Christian.
Yeah, I'm not Christian.
Yeah, why?
So we're gonna talk about the topic you gave me.
No, we're talking about the topic that's here now.
All right, man. Yeah, I'm not Christian because the Bible's false. Let's just say that. Yeah.
How do you know? How do you know it's false?
Yeah, because it's been changed, and we have manuscripts that can prove this.
Okay, prove it. What manuscripts?
Yeah, you have 5,800 manuscripts, but you have 200,000 to 400,000 differences, and it's not only.
You guys have you understand that the Quran, like, that's not an issue. Number one, those are textual variances, and number two, the Quran manuscripts have textual variances too, bro. So that means your thing has been changed too.
Yeah, it's not as bad as
yours. It has.
Doesn't change the meanings at all.
Exactly. Neither does the textual variances.
One second.
Neither does the textual variances.
If you're talking about the ahruf, what are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about that. So we have over 6,000 manuscripts. In those 6,000 manuscripts, there are hundreds of thousands of textual variances. That's what you're referring to. And let me finish. Let me finish, bro.
I just want to clarify.
So there's hundreds of thousands of textual variances. None of them change the meaning of anything. Now you guys have the same thing on your manuscripts, but you're right. It doesn't change the meaning of anything. So I don't understand how you're presenting this as an argument that something has changed.
Yo, are you sure there's not any changes?
No, no changes to the meaning. Just like you said, it's the same answer.
Yeah, when you say meaning, do you mean the fundamentals? Or
yes, just like you mean, it doesn't change the meaning. Yes, there's no changes in the meaning.
Can you name me some fundamentals? So because I have
information. Yeah, like Jesus is God. He died on the cross. He died for our sins. Yes, those are fundamentals right there. None of that changes.
Yeah, it doesn't change. Okay, but the minor ones, does it change?
What minor ones?
The doctrines of the Trinity is
like
not
what?
There anymore.
Like, no, the Trinity is still there. Trinity's still there.
Yeah. So if I would ask you about the specifics of the Trinity, you would not be able to answer it from a biblical
Yes, I would.
No, you would not be able to, because in the first 300 years, Christians couldn't they didn't believe in a Trinity because it's not a natural reading of the text.
Once again, it doesn't matter what a natural reading is. Yeah, it doesn't matter what a natural reading is. What matters is what's the proper interpretation. And what you're referring to is the terminology didn't exist as far as
Okay,
the first couple centuries.
Thank you for admitting that the Trinity is not a natural reading.
Yeah, you're gonna let me finish, bro. Okay. Like I don't know what is it with you and the last guest. Like I don't know if you guys know each other, but like don't cut me off in the middle of me talking, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah, go on.
Thank
Go
you.
on, no problem.
So when it comes to the terminology as far as like the word Trinity, all of those things didn't exist at first. That came like maybe second century, going into the third century. But the concept of the Trinity was always there, and you can find it within the Bible. And no, I don't need First John 5:7. I never used that verse to show Trinity.
Yeah, sir. Can you point out to me when I said when I was talking about terminology? Because I didn't say the word Trinity. I didn't argue whether the word Trinity is there or not. That doesn't. I don't care about that. I want the concept to be there. And
Yeah, I just said it was.
One second. Let me speak. You yourself said this is not a natural reading of the text.
I don't. Natural reading is not evidence, bro. Natural reading is subjective. Somebody, you can have 5 people have a natural reading, and they can read different things in any book. But yes, you're right. You didn't bring up the terminology, but what you said is that the church fathers didn't didn't agree on Trinity. That's because of the terminology. The concept was always there, even before Christianity.
Yeah, but you would, and I'm talking about the, I'm talking about the around the 300 years after Christ. I'm not talking about after the Nicene Creed and everything got established.
The concept was already there.
Certain people, they will get persecuted for believing in the Trinity, for example, and I can like name the names if you want me to, and secondly. Secondly, certain church fathers, you would condemn them, and you would say that they are heretics on what they on based on what they believe on the Trinity, because they didn't believe the exact same doctrine that you believe in.
Once again, you're taking these church fathers, and I guarantee you, the one that you're going to go to is Justin Martyr. You're just taking certain things that they're saying out of context because the terminology didn't exist then. The terminology is what uniforms our description of the same concept, but the concepts were still the same. They were just described differently because they didn't have the terminology. That's why I keep bringing that up, because the terminology is important. It helps people figure out what the concept actually is in a more simplified way, and it's more uniform. Before there was a concept, everybody's describing it their own way, so it sounds like they're saying different things. But if you take their whole writing into context, not just little snippets like you would do, then you would see that they all believe in the same concept.
Really? So they all believe in the exact same doctrine as you believe in today, right?
Yes.
No mistakes, no anything. Just a martyr.
What do you mean? What do you mean by no mistakes?
Would you deem someone who says that God can be corrupted? Would you deem them to be mistaken?
That's from Justin Martyr, and no, he's not mistaken. That's not. He's not saying what you think he's saying.
You believe God is corruptible? All right.
No, that's just not. You're just taking it out of context. You didn't read the whole thing. You're just taking little snippets that you heard from other Muslims.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me the context if you know it so well.
Yeah, the context is that it's referring to the Father and the Son, as the Father being the source, and because the Son took on flesh, that is why he's talking about being corruptible. But it has nothing to do with the Son not existing. If you go to his other parts of his writings, like in his first apology, he references. Yeah, I'm explaining it, bro. Like you just don't. I know you just don't want to listen because you don't know how to refute
you're explaining this. Your doctrine. I don't care about your doctrine. I know what
I'm talking about please, Justin Martyr, dummy.
Hey, brother, please address the issue.
All right, see you later, bro. I don't need to address nothing, bro. You're not even listening. I already know where this is going to go. Where it's going to go is he hits a wall of not knowing how to respond to the things I already know he's saying, and then it's going to be just round and round we go. It's like no point. See you later. What's up?
All right, y'all. So why am I not Christian? I have multiple arguments, I guess, for it, but I'll provide the first one. The first one is The first premise, of course, is that in order for there to be creation, creation is a progression of an event. That progression of an event is that of course, what's it called? A change over time from that of a state of existence to non-existence, correct? I mean, from non-existence to existence, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to premise one that would require time in order for there to be creation in the first place. Premise two would be that time would be a necessary cause towards that of creation or towards that of the progression of events, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, bet. Then conclusion is that God did not create time.
How's that conclusion in those two premises?
Because, like I said beforehand, in order for there to be a a progression of an event in the first place of creation, there would need to be time in order for there to even for that to happen in the first place, right? So, with that being said, then God did not create time. Time would have to have always existed for the events of creation to even happen in the first. I said in the first place, yeah, sorry. For the events of creation to even happen.
No.
You can't create something without time, essentially. So if you can't create time, then without there already being time existing.
Yeah. So when the universe comes from nothing, when he creates the universe out of nothing, and then everything else that comes into motion, when he causes things to go into motion.
That the case, though? If you need,
bro,
we already
hey,
you already granted me.
You're like the bro. What is with these guests today? They just they don't.
In the first place.
Hey, bro, you're gonna let me, just like you talked. You're gonna let me talk. This is like I don't have a lot of patience this morning. You're like the fourth person to do this. So
sure.
if you're not gonna let me talk, I'm just gonna move on to the next guest. All right. I'm not even gonna waste time. All right. So when he creates ex nihilo, the universe, out of and like the first motion, all right, Big Bang, if you want to go use that, right? That would be where time gets put into motion. Once time is put into motion, then everything else gets created. So his act of creation of the planets, the heavens, and creatures, and everything else, all of that is an act within time.
Okay, can I make a response now?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So like you said beforehand, if time is getting put into motion, that means time would have to already be in a still state in the first place, which you still are not proving how it is God can create time if time is being put into motion, not being created in that moment, which it can't have been created in that moment because, like I said beforehand, for creation to occur in the first place, it has to be a progression of a change. That progression of a change requires time. We already granted both of those premises, so the conclusion still remains.
No, your perception of time is actually incorrect. Time is just a measurement of change. So there needs to be motion in order for there to even be time to measure it. So if God is eternal, unchanging, unmoving, and then he out of nothing creates motion, like he starts motion, then that's where time will begin, because that will be the measurement of change. That's why I went to ex nihilo as far as the creation, as far as the first motion, the Big Bang of the universe, right? That would be the first motion. So your perception of time is wrong. You're saying that time is like that change. I forgot how you worded it, but anyways, the time is the measurement of change. So there would need to be motion. Motion would need to happen first in order for there to be time.
Go ahead.
Motion would have to be put in. It would have to be put in motion first in order for there to be time.
Yeah, and what I was specifically saying is that, sorry, I'm sitting up in my chair, is that time requires change and change requires time. Both require each other in order for there to be an event in the first place. I'm saying that it can't be just that one was created without there already being the other one there present in the first place. Like that would be a logical contradiction.
Why would that be a logical contradiction?
Because, like I said beforehand, change requires time, and time requires change.
What would be the logical
of events? Something being created means that thing went from a state of non-existence to a state of existence. That is the change. God creating time would be the progression of an event, because again, the progression of event would be what do we say again? That something going from a state of non-existence to a state of existence. That is an event right there. The progression of that event is the progression of it going from non-existence to a state of existence. So God creating time would be a progression of events. However, time is the progression of events. So how did God create time with no time to create time in the first place?
Yeah.
Doesn't
So
make sense.
what's illogical of creating ex nihilo? Is there anything illogical there?
I already said beforehand exactly how it's a logical contradiction. I went through both of our premises that we both were able to grant.
I'm asking, as far as God moving starting out of nothing, what is the logical contradiction behind that?
God starting out of nothing. What do you mean by that? Are you saying like that God like came from
That's
nothing,
what ex nihilo.
that's what ex nihilo
means. That's what ex nihilo means. You don't know what ex nihilo is?
No, I'm just asking particular stuff just to get clarification of your position.
I don't know how much more clear I can get. As far as God, an eternal being, who is unchanging, unmoving, starting the first movement or creating out of nothing. What is the logical contradiction out of that?
Because, as I said beforehand, in order to create something, it would have to go from a state of nothingness, aka non-existence, to that state of existence.
But that doesn't change. So here's the thing. If he was to then start a realm of time, right? If a realm of time starts, the start of the time doesn't change God.
I'm not saying it changes God.
Okay. So all right, good. So it doesn't change God. So what is the issue as far as God, who is pure act, that wills a realm of time and then time begins? Why is that a contradiction?
As I said beforehand, that requires time to do in the first place.
Yeah, that would be the beginning of time, right? That doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that he was within time and there was a progression within him.
No, that's not what that would mean.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If he was to, no, bro, your premises don't actually even follow to the conclusion, bro. You just gave like two little measly premises and you thought you did a syllogism. But anyways, nonetheless, no, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. You didn't even provide an inference rule or anything. But nonetheless, right? If time, if time, a realm of time would to come from God, that doesn't mean that he himself is actually changing. That's where it would be the contradiction.
I never said that God is changing.
That's the only, well, I know you didn't say that, but that would be the only contradiction. If he himself is unchanging and the realm of time comes about, then that keeps him divinely simple. That keeps him unchanging. That doesn't put him within the course of events. Now, when his actions within time start to create, that also is not a contradiction because he himself is unchanging.
I'm saying that would still be a contradiction. Are you not getting what I'm trying to say?
I know exactly what you're trying to say.
Okay,
but what you're saying is because God creates time, that automatically puts him within time because there's a progression that he went from doing this and then created time and it went from I'm oversimplifying it, bro. I'm oversimplifying it. What you're saying is because God had an action that was time, and because it went from nothing to something, therefore that means God was within time, but you can't say he's within time and then created time. That's a contradiction, right?
No, that is not.
That is exactly what you've been saying. Go ahead, though. Clarify.
I'm saying the action that he specifically, what's it called, of him creating that time is not putting him in the time. I am saying the action itself requires time for it to even occur in the first place. I'm not saying God is in said time. I'm saying the action requires time.
Why would God's actions require time?
That's how creation, for something to being created means that it went, again, going from a state of non-existence to a state of existence is a change. Time is the progression.
I'm okay with that. But see, now you're assuming that all of God's actions, like he's some sort of static being doing nothing for eternity, that his actions require time. They don't require time.
I just don't know if you're logically tracking. If that's the case, that's fine. Honestly, you can.
Okay, bro. I mean, if that's what you want to be your cop out, I mean, if we're gonna go around in circles, I'm cool with that. But nonetheless, we don't believe his energies are within time. They're uncreated and eternal. So he is pure act. He's within eternity. His actions are within eternity. So his love, which creation would be an outpouring of his love, was always active. always. And when time is created, that's an outpouring of his love. And that is a realm of time starts to get created, plus everything else gets created. All of those actions.
We're not talking about a realm of time.
Yeah, I am. That's the part. You have a misunderstanding of our theology. So, anyways, bro, thanks for coming, bro. Appreciate it. I need to keep going around circles. What's up?
Hey, so I just have a couple of questions because it might help me convert to Christianity.
What's your faith?
Right now I'm an atheist, but I think Islam looks a little more appealing to me at the moment.
How are you being appealed to any religion believing in a God if you don't even believe there's a God?
I could be persuaded that maybe there's evidence of it existing. So
are you persuaded already? Because this is not following.
Well, I'm a non-resistant. I'm not resistant to God, to the idea of God. I'm a non-resistant person to the idea of God.
Okay. Well, I think in order to decide whether Christianity or Islam is true, the premise of you believing there's a God, I think that's pretty crucial first to believe in.
Sure, but I mean, I haven't read through the Bible. I haven't read through the Bible or the Quran. So it's not like you're going about this the wrong way. Like, sure. Because even if you are not convinced, okay, so let me just track with me here. If you're not convinced there's a creator to begin with, but like you said, you're non-resistant, meaning like you're willing to accept it anyway, right? As long as it's convincing to you somehow, right? Yeah. That's fine. But you're skipping the first step of being convinced and going right into looking into some sort of theology with the premise already that God does exist. So what essentially is going to happen is, let's say you examine both and you choose one. You're not choosing it off. You're just choosing it based off of your feelings, like which one is better, because you yourself don't have any logical reason to believe that there's a God still yet. Yeah, so I want to expand on that a little bit because I don't think I was clear. So I'm a former Christian. I've read a little bit of the Bible. I haven't read a lot. And what happened for me, at least, was that, like, in the church, I was taught that I would feel and behave and whatever and go through life a certain way being a Christian. And I didn't feel like that logically tracked. And I can expand on that further if you need to. But the reason why I'm saying, like, I think that maybe Islam might be a better choice is I feel like they only have, and this might be stupid, but I'm just going to tell you, is that they generally agree on one prophet, right? So they have like one prophet that says, these are the divine teachings that come directly from God. And the Bible has like way more. So like, how could I trust the validity of like 40 different random people when one person is saying like, I'm the one chosen by God? So like, how would you settle that disagreement at least?
I don't. This is just going off of what your preferences are, bro. You're just relying on what you feel should be in your mind, in your opinion, what would be ideal or at least more convincing for you. I mean,
that doesn't have evidence that the 40 different authors were spoken.
Well, we can get to it, okay? But nonetheless, like your approach of all of this is wrong, bro. Like you don't even realize that all you're doing is, and you're approaching this with what a preloaded criteria that is based off of your preferences. Like why does it your criteria that you just said, it seems to me that it's simpler to follow one prophet than 40 others. Why is that criteria the objective criteria? Hold on, brother. Hold on, bro. Hey, hold on, bro. Hold on. Yeah, see, like, yeah, dude. Look, this whole thing of coming here is like, I want you to convince me of this and that. I'm not going to convince you of anything. Like, I'll answer questions for you. I'll do it, but I'm not going to go and try to appease. This is not a sales pitch, right? I'm not going to try to appease to whatever your preferences are. The truth is the truth, whether you like it or not, right? So regardless of what your opinion is more logical. It seems more logical or simpler or easier if it is one prophet versus 40. That's not an objective criteria to determine whether something is true or false. It could be true if it's one prophet or 40, because if we're talking about God, God could do it with either one. It could also be false if it's 1 or 40. Why? Because falsehood can happen on either one of the criteria. So your criteria is flawed. It's not objective. It's based on your preference.
True. No, I agree with you. I think that it is flawed. So what would you say like is an objective way to measure God, or at least to understand God?
Yeah, I mean, well, to understand God, dude, you don't even know if God exists.
Yeah, you're right. I don't. So how would I get to know how God
exists? Yeah, I would start, instead of looking at Christianity and Islam, I would start looking at arguments for God. Like, why don't you believe him in the first place?
So I think that at least from a moral perspective, like we're saying that God is all good, right? Is God all good and all knowing and omnipotent?
Okay, so you have the problem of evil.
I wouldn't say I have the problem necessarily of just evil, but yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. I would summarize it as that.
Okay, so what is your issue with God being morally good? Can you expound on that?
Yeah, I think some examples like I'm going to use some human morality here because I have no other way of basing this, but like Sodom and Gomorrah, I thought was when I was reading through that, people not being spared in either city, except for Lot and who else? Was it his wife? No, she looked back and she turned an assault, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think that was bueno. That wasn't very good.
Based on what standard?
That's based on a human standard. I think that if there is wickedness in people's hearts, that there should be at least some attempt to sway them from that. If you have the power, especially when God has
is this once again
where they can appear and where he can physically appear?
Yeah, is this Didi? Is this once again your opinion?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that I would base.
Yeah, dude. I think you need to. This is what you need to do, Didi. Okay, because if you're honest about this search for truth. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to come to terms with something. Okay. You need to really self-reflect and say, am I basing this knowledge of truth, or this journey to seek for what is the truth? Am I basing this off of me and what I prefer, or am I actually going to let the evidence lead me to whatever the truth is? Now, it's not easy. It's not easy to let go of your preferences. I empathize with that and say, I'm going to just let the evidence guide me to whatever is true. Why? Because it could lead you, or at least the thought of it can be uncomfortable. I get it. But if you're actually really, if you value finding the truth, you're willing to be uncomfortable for the truth. And I had to do the same thing. I when I reconstructed my faith years ago, it's been like 5 years now. I grew up the majority of my life Christian. So for me to reconstruct and say, well, if the evidence leads me away from Christianity, that's uncomfortable, but I'll go wherever the truth leads me. Now, thank God it did lead me to Christianity still, but I was willing to take that uncomfortability because I valued finding the truth. You, it seems like you're trying to shop for a car. I'm going to look at all the cars and see which one I like. I like this color. I like how this leather feels. I like the little trinkets to it. I like the little bonuses to this and that. That's what you're doing. That is not how you find God.
What are some uncomfortable truths that you've had to accept to believe in Christianity?
I actually didn't have to do much because it ended up being the faith that I always believed in. So what I meant was I was willing to be uncomfortable in the sense that if Christianity is not true, I had to move away from it. That's an uncomfortable commitment to yourself to say, hey, if the evidence leads me away, then I have to go away.
So I guess what is your standard for finding truth? So I would say that like I wasn't at Sodom and Gomorrah, and I'm not saying that like you have to be somewhere to understand like some sort of objective reality. Like I don't know, I've never been to the Eiffel Tower, but I can look up how tall it is and probably reliably find out how tall it is. But I do have to. I feel like I still have to measure some type of morality when you say that I'm going to destroy an entire city of people that none of them can change, including the women and children. I think that there's some sort of
well, bro, if you're gonna still hold on to that standard, then you need to investigate another religion other than Christianity and Islam, because Islam believes in the same story.
Yeah, and I don't believe in Islam either. I was just saying.
Yeah, I know, but you were considering the two, so you need to. If that's going to be your standard, and you're going to say, "Oh yeah, this is not good because I don't think it's good," then cross them both off. You go look into like Buddhism or something.
I mean, would you say that what happened at Sodom and Gomorrah was good? That the children and women died as well?
Yes, but see, here's the thing. My perception of what is good and evil is different from yours, and it's actually grounded into what reality is as far as like Christianity. Yours is just based off of your own preference.
That's fair. I mean, do you feel like, I know people probably bring this up with you all the time, but what are your thoughts on the Bible not condemning slavery? If it is the basis of morality, right? Why would the Bible, with its grand morality, actually tell you how much you can buy slaves for, etc.?
Yeah, I mean,
but we don't do it.
Take the story into context. The context is he frees the Israelites from slavery. Okay, so obviously God has something for slavery. However, he doesn't abolish slavery because it's the common social norm at the time, and what he ends up doing is regulating slavery to allow the Jewish people to practice the practice of the times of the world, but they still did it differently than everyone else, and they did it more in line with his morality. But he was working with a group of Israelites that were in slavery for 400 years, were severely abused, no religious grounding at all, because they didn't get a chance to practice their religion yet. They were under oppression of pagans that were practicing against pagan gods and so forth. And then he brings them out to the wilderness. You don't just take someone out of that condition and expect them to, boom, morally be following everything to perfection. So he is working with Israel as to where they are at. And he asked them to up their morality, but he doesn't ask them to up their morality to the final standard. He works with them where they're at, regulates slavery, and then progresses them. And then that's why there's laws that get progressed 613. And then once all of the law is fulfilled, we see Jesus come in and have the full fulfillment of the morality of God, which then leads to eventually slavery being abolished centuries later. But even in the United States, it was abolished by because of Christians using the Bible. So nonetheless, the whole process is a progression, and it's a leading to the higher standard of morality. And he's just regulating the Jews during the time of the Torah that you're referencing.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a couple of issues with what you said, but once again, it'll come back to my subjective opinion. I guess I don't want to loop the conversation too much, but I guess I'm trying to figure out how you base your standards of what is good and what is not. Is it only based off of the Bible?
Of course. That's the only way that you can actually have an objective criteria without being your own opinion.
So that's the objective morality is the Bible.
The objective morality is God. That's why this is important to believe that there's a God first, because if you believe there's a creator and then there's morality, God is the standard of that morality.
So here's a question to test that a little bit. If we found a new passage of the Bible that enforced a new rule that, I don't know, just something silly, like it said, every third child you must pluck the eye from or something, would you follow that because it's based off the Bible?
Yeah.
I'm just asking. Silly. I don't know if morality comes directly from.
Yeah, silly hypothetical.
It is a hypothetical, but I'm just asking if what's in the Bible is what you would follow. Yeah.
So the reason why I follow the Bible is because I have evidences that there's a God and that this Bible comes from God. I don't just and I go off, and I don't just go off of just any interpretation of this Bible. Okay. So the question, what you're really trying to ask me is, are you going to blindly follow this book and just do anything it says? That's what you're really trying to probe, like what you're trying to probe. And the answer is, I didn't blindly follow the Bible. I looked to see if there's evidence that this actually came from the Creator. And then when I did, then I trusted it. Right. So, yeah. So in your silly hypothetical, right?
Yes.
If this silly hypothetical situation came from God, all right, and it was a command that for me to do, I'm going to follow whatever is within the book. But this silly hypothetical doesn't apply to the morality that this book actually lays out. So that's why I keep saying it's a silly hypothetical. It actually contradicts its own morality.
No, the main thing I just wanted to see is that the morality came from the Bible and not like some other thing, because I'm basing my morality off of some sort of like intuition or intuitive judgment calls. Like, obviously it's bad to steal from people, it's bad to hurt other people, but like it's not something that I felt like I had to be like thoroughly and extensively taught. Like I felt like a lot of that is intuitive, and I wonder how much of Christianity draws from intuition instead of just directly from the book. I mean, how many Christians haven't read the Bible and think that they're going to heaven? And
well, the Bible tells us
moral life.
The Bible tells us that we have a moral law. There's an innate that all humans have an intuition or an instinct, maybe, of this law, this objective morality that God lays out. So what you're feeling there is something that God put within your heart, and it's innate to all humans that have rational thinking. But yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that everybody follows that. People resist these feelings and do whatever they want at the end of the day because they're free will creatures, right? They might know it's wrong to unalive or hurt somebody, but then when they get angry and they want to get what's theirs, they end up doing it anyway, right? So, anyways, I don't know how this helps you because you don't even know if God exists. If you don't know God exists, then you would naturally just go with your subjective opinion as to what morality is. So you're kind of stuck.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'm stuck then.
Yeah, I would say unless you're willing to go find whether God exists or not, bro. I mean, I said that from the beginning.
I guess the main thing, at least I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you because I've been kind of like I've been kind of beating around the bush. So formerly I was a Christian, and I did read the Bible. I prayed all the time. I went to church on Sundays and sometimes Wednesdays. So I would go pretty consistently. And I would pray to God, but I would never feel anything. I would read my Bible. I'd read about these stories. Mostly the Old Testament as pretty much as far as I got. I got like some passages in the New Testament. But I wouldn't really feel the presence of God. I didn't feel like I was really doing anything. I just thought that I felt like I was reading a book. And I was praying, and like I remember there were some hardships in my life, and I felt like when I would reach out to God, it almost felt like I was just comforting myself. So like I'll tell like a little bit of an emotional thing, but my dad had stage 4 cancer, and I was praying for him, and I'm very fortunate he did survive, but like there was a very long period of time where I was like, man, I'm not gonna have a dad. And this was when I was a kid, and I was praying a lot, and I didn't really feel I wasn't feeling like, I felt like I was just comforting myself. I felt like I was talking to myself when I would pray, and I was like, I don't know what's going on with this. And so like I'd ask my pastors about it, and they say, oh well, just continue, just keep going. And like I did this for years, and I just felt like I was lying to myself.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. And what you have shared made it very clear of what I already suspected. You're only basing the truth off of what you feel. If you don't feel anything, it's not true to you. So unfortunately, bro, I understand we all want to have the feeling of God, and I don't blame you for that. That's fine that you want that. But just because you didn't feel the feeling you expected doesn't mean it's not true.
Well, I mean, the issue is that I didn't feel anything, and the other issue is that like my prayers, like in general, besides my dad I was very fortunate.
Well, that's what I was going to say. But see, stop right there. That's what I was going to say. you're you're saying I didn't feel anything in prayer, yet you prayed for your dad and he made it. Why would that not be an answer?
I'm saying that
why would that not be an answer to prayer?
Because I've had 7 other people in my life pass away. My dad was fortunate.
Okay, cool.
I got lucky with him, and it bolstered my faith for a little bit. But I'm saying that
but
there were
why?
other people in my life.
Cool, but why would that negate, just because other people died? Why would that negate that was an answer to prayer?
It wouldn't negate that it was an answer to prayer, but it seems more like prayer is just a probability of luck. It's and it's not like God saved him. It's the doctor. The doctors did it. It's not like God actually came down and healed my dad. It was like the doctors took out a piece of his body that was cancerous and then put it on a table. So it's like, why would I believe that God did anything?
Okay, go. However, if you would have felt a warm, fuzzy feeling, had an emotional high and a spiritual experience, and then all of the same results would have happened, then you would have believed it, right?
Maybe.
Exactly.
I really
bro,
know
your whole,
like I said,
dude, listen, man, listen, bro, listen, this is going to be a little bit tough love. Okay. But I'm just going to tell you, bro,
yeah, go for it.
you need to just snap out of your addiction of your own flesh. You're your own God. You're all you're doing is saying, I'm going to live life off of my feelings. Whatever is my feeling and my preferences, that's what I'm going to follow. Dude, even if you don't even follow God, this is problematic even for regular life, because life and making hard decisions is not based on feelings, bro. Sometimes you have to do things that don't feel good, and it's the right thing to do. So especially when you're taking into account if you have kids. Do you have kids?
Has God ever talked to you before?
Do you have kids?
I want to change that real quick.
Do you have kids?
No, I haven't.
Wait till you have kids. When you have kids, see if the way you're choosing things in life are going to work for you. Once you start having kids, go ahead and keep making your decisions off of your feelings, and see how well that works for you as a parent. It'll be terrible. See, the problem with being addicted to feelings, which is what's happening to you right now, is that you'll never have any proper healthy relationships in your life. It'll be all fake relationships with no substance to it. And that's what happened with your relationship with God. That's what happened with your relationship. I know this is hard. Listen, I know. I'm being a little tough on you because I want you to snap out of it. Snap out of your addiction, bro. Consider this an intervention. You're addicted to your own flesh and your own feelings. And I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for you. Like you got to snap out of this. The world revolves around me and what I feel. Like, dude, snap out of this crap. You'll never get anywhere, not even in life. Like, how can you, you're going to bounce from job to job, stuff to stuff, because I just don't feel like there's a need to play.
This is not relevant.
Yeah. Okay, bro. Anyways, have a good day. See you later. Snap out of it, bro. You're addicted to yourself. The hell, bro. What's up?
Hello?
What's up?
There's no love like Christian hate, right? I mean, there's no hate like Christian love.
Yeah, you screwed up already. Joke didn't work.
Okay, it's fine. I can make an actual argument.
What's your faith?
God exists. I don't believe in anything. I'm an atheist.
Okay, cool.
So when I think of things that I start to believe, or when I think of things that I start to understand, normally there would be evidence. All right.
Mm-hmm.
What is your evidence that God exists?
Well, do you believe that there are universal concepts like the laws of logic or math or like numbers?
No, yeah, those things exist.
Yeah. So now we as humans cannot create universal concepts. Would you agree?
What do you mean create? We discovered those things.
Yeah, sure. But we can't create, like, for example, if you and I were like, hey, let's create a universal concept that is absolutely true always, we cannot do that, can we?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure math was created.
Okay, so math, let's talk about like numbers. All right,
yeah,
the fundamentals.
The numbers that we write down, yeah, we made that.
Oh, I'm not talking about the semantics, like the terminology. I'm talking about like the value of it, what it's being referenced, what's being referenced within the semantics.
Okay.
Right. So like the value of whatever, like when we say the number 2, yeah, humans created the terminology 2, 3, but the value was always there, correct?
Okay. Yeah.
So if you and I want to create something like that, which is that's what I mean. That's what I mean. By the way, that's what I mean by universal concept. If you and I wanted to create,
that's true. Yeah.
Okay, we cannot create something like that. Would you agree?
Yeah. No, we can't.
Okay, so universal now concepts. Where do they exist?
Where do concepts exist?
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of them exist on Earth.
Yeah, of course, exactly. Right. Concepts only exist in the mind. Can they exist anywhere else? Just to make sure you're agreeing with that.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say like other beings have concepts of things too. Like, would you say like emotions are concepts? Would you say that?
No, I'm talking about like concepts like the laws of logic and numbers. Those exist in the mind. Would you agree?
And so I wouldn't say they exist like only in the human mind. I'd say
where else do they exist?
Other beings follow logic.
Like what?
Sometimes a chimp will follow through like a
Animals don't have.
There have been tests where like they follow a train of a sequence of events.
I'm not saying they don't have thoughts. Yeah, sure. They have a thought, and yeah, they get to get an award. But all of that is based off of instinct, not rational thinking. Like you can't teach it. You can't. Yeah, you can't teach it. Hold on. Well, we do have instincts, but we have rational thinking as well. But what I'm saying is, you can't.
So
Hold on, bro. You can't teach a chimpanzee the value of numbers or the laws of logic. Would you agree?
Okay. You can. Okay.
Okay. So I'm talking about concept. I'm talking about
the value of those things either.
Yeah. Well, those people, if they're mentally disabled, they lack rational thinking, right? I'm talking about a regular human with rational thinking.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the laws of logic, right, which animals cannot, they cannot perceive, or they can't have that in those thoughts because they're not capable, right? The laws of logic, I would say that they only exist in a mind. Would you agree?
No, I think they exist outside of our mind.
Where?
I think regardless of if we came to be, if we evolved to be the way that we are, these things would still exist.
Oh, okay. I agree, but you said that they exist even somewhere other than the mind. Can you demonstrate that?
Yeah. So, like I just said, if we didn't come to have the conscious minds that we have today,
Antoine, I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. We'll get to that in a second. But you said that the concepts exist somewhere else other than a mind. I just would like for you to demonstrate that, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we wouldn't be having this conversation if we didn't exist. Correct?
Yes, bro. But are you going to answer my question?
Yeah, I'm going to answer your question. If we didn't evolve, I already answered it. If we didn't evolve the way that we did to understand these things the way that we do, these things would still exist.
I agree. Where do they exist?
Outside of our minds.
Yeah, where? Where, bro?
Yeah, somewhere arbitrary. We don't know.
So, bro, yeah, and thank you for that, because that's actually where I was going. But nonetheless, bro, you just said, I don't know, and you're not going to consider the possibilities, because the only possible, here, I'm gonna lay it out. Hey, Antoine, relax. Hey, relax. Take it easy, bro. Take it easy, bro. Take it easy, Mister. Coming up real cocky. You just conceded to everything. So here we go. Concepts only exist in the mind. You can't demonstrate that otherwise. Universal concepts like the laws of logic and numbers are something that humans cannot create themselves. They can only discover. They always existed. Universal concepts have to come from a universal mind, because they existed even prior to humans existing, and humans didn't create these things. Therefore, conclusion, that these universal concepts have to come from a universal mind. That universal mind would have to be God. If you want to argue against that, you would need to give a reductio as to where else it could exist other than a mind. But you just conceded and said, I don't know. It just there are just that's all you conceded to. You didn't provide an actual reductio.
Hypotheticals of some places that it could come from, like
you need to you need to prove it.
It would still exist in space.
Prove it. Demonstrate it.
Yeah. So there are places where we don't know exist, but they're still out there.
Yeah, you're just appealing to mystery, bro. Can you prove it? Can you demonstrate? Can you demonstrate?
Right?
No.
Exactly what's going on.
No, it's not. The conclusion would be it had to come from it would have to. It logically follows it had to come from universal mind. Now, can you demonstrate how logic can be in space?
Yeah, it's just out there. We can like look at it through a telescope sometimes.
All right, brother. Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, go buy a telescope and let us know when you find it. Take a picture of it, okay? Let us know. Yeah. What a doofus. Absolute. Oh, I got a telescope. Yeah, go get a telescope, take a picture of it, and come show us. All right. Happy hunting. Dude's a clown. Oh my god, bro. Dude just got. Dude thought he was gonna come up here and not get the evidence for God. He just literally got the evidence for God, and he's probably just in shock right now. But he had out of his own pride and ego, he had to show like, oh, just in space, there's places we don't know about. Just to kind of hold on to any little bit of ego he had left. Dude's had crazy Shubahat right now. Crazy Shubahat. W Shubahat in the chat for the atheist. Crazy. Tap the screen, y'all. Crazy Shubahat. These atheists, man, they're funny, man. Was I too hard on that other guy, Mr. Feelings, man? Put a 1 if I was too hard on that guy. Put a 2 if I wasn't. Is there a Christian word for Shubahat? Yeah, doubt. Bro, this guy laid things like Islam just like completely trademarked the word Shubahat, bro. It's just the Arabic word for doubt. That's all it is, bro. Y'all think Islam created Arabic or something, bro. Y'all tripping, man. They think they got the rights and the royalties for all of these words. It's like, bro, it's just the Arabic language, man. That's all it is.
Yo, I'm a Christian. I got a question though. That's cool too.
What's up?
So when I deal with like lust, when I do my lust like super hard, are those demonic thoughts in my head, or is that just my human instincts?
I don't know. It could be either one. Maybe both. It could be just one. It could be both. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox?
I'm a Catholic.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, bro. I mean, the fathers. You know, they definitely let us know that we have passions, right? We have like animalistic instincts, right? We succumb to the passions, right? So lust would be a passion, and it's a natural passion that we have as human beings, right? But we need to control it. But then there's demonic beings. I mean, especially if you're like, you don't have to share this, but if anybody has been like sexually abused or something like that, that could bring demonic activity into your life that can make it harder for you to resist that passion.
But I didn't think about that. That's great.
But glory to God, there's ways to break these things, you know. From the apostolic side of things, this is why confession is important. Having a spiritual father is important. You know, because all of these things help break these strongholds, depending on what it is for you, right? So
right. Okay. All right, then, man. Yeah, I think I just gotta go confession, to be honest.
Yeah, bro. And do you have a spiritual father? Like, do you have a spiritual father? Like, do you have your priest that you talk to and stuff?
Yeah, I do. I just Yeah, I do. It's just been a minute since I've been in confession, but yeah, no, I talked to him a lot though. So.
Yeah, I would continue to do that. Get guidance from him, because in those situations you can share personally what the struggles are, and then he would at least have information on how to guide you, because there's not a cookie cutter way on how to stop all this for everybody, bro. Everybody has different reasons why they're struggling with this. Some things are choices they made in their life that are their fault, and some are not, right? There are people that gone through something that had nothing to do with them. Somebody violated them when they were young, and now they're stuck with this addiction or this inclination to do these things that they can't stop on their own. They need help, right? So, if and everybody's personality is different on how they respond to that too. So, I mean, like, the human is very complex when it comes to these issues, right? So, by being open with your spiritual father and sharing your struggles, it gives him the information he needs through the guidance of the Holy Spirit to try to guide you to what's going to be proper for you and how to conquer this, right? But it's going to take some work on your end, man. You know what I mean? It's going to take some structure in your life, some cutting out some things that trigger you. I mean, it's going to be those kind of things. You got to be committed and willing to let some stuff go. And that's not easy, because sometimes, whether we realize it or not, as much as we hate the struggles that we have, sometimes we hold on to these things for some reason. Like, we want to hold on to it instinctually because, I don't know, it's doing something for us, maybe self-medicating, or makes you feel safe when it happens, But yeah, it's life, bro. It's hard, but hey, glory to Jesus, there's a way out. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to work,
Right.
you got to fight it.
That's true. Appreciate it, man.
All right, man. No problem. Too.
God bless.
God bless. All right, tap the screen, guys, if you don't mind. So you guys said I wasn't too hard on that guy. Man, that guy was so addicted to his own feelings, man. People like that, they go from like job to job, project to project, hobby to hobby. They probably even move from place to place. I just feel like this job is for me. No, I just don't feel like it's for me anymore. Just don't feel it. Just don't feel it. You can tell when somebody don't got kids when they're acting like that. And if they do have kids, whew, man, them kids are bad. They got anybody who acts like that and has kids, and they were actually raised those kids, they're gonna be some bad little kids, man. Bad ass little kids. Because they're gonna be running around doing whatever they want to do. Holy crap. Y'all ever have like somebody come over with some bad ass little kids? You just want to slap them? Holy crap. They just come around and do whatever they want to do. Oh, man. That's true, Christ Topics. They're just big old kids. They're just some big old kids, man. That's it. Do 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 do. Anyways, while we're taking this break, don't forget to hit the follow button on Peace, who is on the panel. If she has a little plus sign next to her name, go ahead and hit the plus sign. She's going to be going live later. It is Trinity Tuesday. And she's be going live later with the one and only Nobody, a.k.a. Dom. So make sure you hit the follow button on TikTok for her so that y'all show some love. You feel me? And on YouTube, her YouTube is on my YouTube description. No content yet, but content coming soon. What's up?
Oh, not much. Your question says, why are you not Christian? Well, for one, I'm not a crusader. And for two, I don't play with my imaginary friend like y'all do.
What's your faith?
I don't have... My faith is my allegiance.
To who?
I don't have blind faith like y'all do.
What's your allegiance to?
To the truth.
Which is?
So, what would I prosper from worshiping Jesus?
Oh, you don't want to answer that question, what the truth is, bro?
Well, I'm fixing to show you. To answer that question, I must show you. What would be...
Bro, you good?
What would I profit?
You all right, bro? Why'd your voice just start to influx like
Wait,
like that?
Would your Christ be attacking me personally, Christian Crusader? Why are you attacking me personally?
I'm not attacking you personally, bro.
You're talking about my voice, and you're trying to make fun of my voice. That's a crusader. So
I am,
please,
yeah. I am a
profit
crusader,
from
bro.
worshiping your
I am a
Jesus.
crusader. I'm defending the faith.
I know you are. What would I profit from worshiping Jesus?
Probably nothing, bro. Probably nothing.
Yeah,
For
agreed.
you,
Agreed.
probably
Play
nothing.
With your imaginary friend, you're going to tell me I get eternal life, yet not one of y'all I've ever seen.
Well, if you don't believe
life.
it, you ain't gonna benefit nothing from
Wait,
it.
can you bring me forth one person that's ever gained eternal life from bending a knee to this man?
Yeah.
Okay, bring forth one, please.
Yeah.
Let me talk to them.
Oh, you want to talk to them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what you do.
You've never been dead, have you? You're still alive, so you don't know if you
go.
eternal
Just
life.
go to your room. Go to your room.
I'm in my room.
Okay, good. And turn everything off.
Okay, there's no lights on in my house.
Yeah. And I'm talking about like everything, even your phone and everything. Okay. And then get on your knees, and then say, "Hey." Then say, "I'm being serious. I'm being serious. So just follow the directions."
Are you trying to put a cock in my mouth? Why do I need to get on my knees?
Yeah, dude. Anyways, bro.
Why do you get on your knees?
Your mother has that in her mouth. How about that? How about that, weirdo? Hey. Hey, I know you're not talking, bro. You over here, bear got cooked, bro. You wouldn't dare hit the request button. You wouldn't dare hit the request button. You see, hey, see me. He's like, I don't want to talk to Bear. I'd rather talk to someone else. Crazy. Hey, healer, bro. Why don't you go practice what you was talking about, bro? How about that? How about that? Anyways, tap the screen, guys. Tap the screen. So, anyways, going back to what we was talking about. We don't have to talk about that guy no more. The guy with the feelings, man. I actually, to be honest with you, even though I went like kind of like tough on that guy, I kind of feel, I feel bad for people like that are addicted to their own feelings and stuff like that, man. Like, it is what it is. They can't snap out of themselves, man.
Hey, bro, I can't be like having you tell the chat that I'm scared of you. So I was like, you know what, man? Let me go ahead and come on up, bro.
So you fell for the bait.
Do my thing.
Fell for the bait. What's up?
Not a whole lot, man. I figured I'd do a quick little.
Did your wife give you permission this time to be here?
Oh yeah, we done. She thought I was like.
What are you listening to, bro?
Wait, hold on. Bro, I had some kind of video playing. Hold on, now I can hear you. Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What's up?
Oh yeah, I squared it up. Like me and my wife done. We talked about it. Yeah. That I can't believe that became a thing. Like, yeah, but evidently I'm not allowed to say that no more on live. So you won't be hearing me call any of you people that word. But yeah, anyway though, my bad.
It's all right.
So Bear, really quick though, because I do gotta go ahead and head out soon. I just, you know what I'm saying, I ain't gonna let you call me out for free like that. But the Father all knowing, right?
Yeah.
The Son all knowing, right?
Yeah.
And the Holy Spirit all knowing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they all communicate with one another with love and all that good stuff, right?
All that, yeah.
Okay, and I ain't trying to be funny when I ask this, by the way. What did they talk about?
I don't know.
If you and I is all knowing, I know every thought that's going on in your mind. You know every thought in my mind. I'm be like, hey, Bear, how you doing? You gonna be like, nigga, you already know how I'm doing. Like,
bro,
like,
don't use that word, man. Don't use that word on the panel, bro. What are you doing?
Oh, my bad. But you feel what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, don't use that word again, bro, because I'm about to drop you. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like that's like asking, like, you know, who Allah was loving before creation, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna say, I don't know. But see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. At least I know he can communicate. What he's communicating, I don't know.
But you're not addressing the issue. That's why you had to run.
What is the wait? I'm not addressing it. What is the issue?
Okay, listen to me. I'm showing you how stupid and unintelligible your belief system is. So hear me out. Okay. And this is respectfully, by the way, because I care about you.
Okay.
By the time you get to my age, you're gonna understand. But look.
Yeah, maybe.
Look, yeah, inshallah you understand that, because right now, I mean, how old you is? Like 25?
Yeah, 25.
Yeah, 25. You look about a quarter. Yeah, but anyway, though, is that you on the right? Yeah, you look about a quarter. Yeah, but here's the thing, though, Bell. If these people was all knowing, they know everything. They know when a leaf falls. What the hell could they possibly communicate? Just imagine you and I is all knowing. This is hypothetical. You and I is all knowing. What the hell is we gonna communicate about? We already know everything.
Yeah. So you think it's an issue that if I don't know exactly what they're communicating, therefore my religion is false? Is that what your argument is?
That's not what I'm arguing. What I'm arguing is that's essential.
Hey, they're communicating their eternal love for each other. What are you talking about?
What does that mean? Like you just saying, you putting words together, but what does that mean?
That's what it is.
Okay, explain that. What does it mean when you saying?
Hey, but here's the thing. Why does it require an explanation? Because here's the thing.
That's a cop out, though.
No, it's not. It's not. No. Hey. Let me explain why it's not a cop out here. Because this is why it's not an issue. When you bring an argument, right? If you bring something that you're posing, which here would be what are they communicating? If I don't have an answer to it, right? Or if there is no answer to it, if it's an actual problem, the result of not having the answer would lead to some sort of, in order for this to be an actual argument, lead some sort of proof that the religion is false, or that he can't exist, or it logically doesn't follow, or so forth. Me not knowing what they're actually communicating for eternity doesn't present any of those issues at all. So it's just okay, who cares if I don't know? It doesn't rock anybody's world as far as Christianity being true or not.
And that is an answer. Just because we don't know the exact words or how or what they're communicating, they're still communicating.
But see, if I bring a problem like what Muslims say they don't.
Hold on. Okay, I'll let you talk. That's the thing with me, man. Like Christians, when Christians talk, man, you can't let them get away with things. That's the thing. Christians think they can get away with things, just like your comment section is all low IQ people. But anyway, though.
You see what you just did right there? Let us talk about Muslims. At least we're giving you an answer, and you're just talking about Christians.
Yeah, seriously.
Right. Because I'm on a Christian panel, and I ain't gonna lie to you, man. The Christian community is toxic.
You see what you're doing?
But anyway, though, let me respond to you, though. So the thing is, when I think about it, and you shut your bitch ass up, nigga. But anyway, though.
All right. See you later. He wanted to go anyway. I could he got no self control, man. Told you don't use that word up here, man.
What's wrong with him?
He just fell for the bait when I called him out, and his pride sinked in, just like any Muslim. If you guys want to control them, just push their ego buttons. You can get them to do whatever they want, whatever you want. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Because it's an instinctual religion. Just follow your instincts. So it's just push it. Hey, let me push his ego button so he can request up. Oh, hey, will never come up here. Then he comes up and admittedly does it when he admits he didn't even want to. What's up?
Hello.
What's up?
I requested up because I like the question on the panel. Why are you not Christian? Being someone that reverted from Judaism, I would consider, Judaism considers Christianity altogether idolatry. And that's because of Christians can't identify the angels in the Torah They're not mentioned by name verbatim, because that is the written Torah. We have an oral tradition, and your religion doesn't even align with the oral tradition, because you read into that the three angels that came to Avram Avinu, Abraham, were not Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, but were one of them who stayed behind was God himself. Because the angels bear the name of God, Yahweh, which every angel bears the name of God. Gabriel means mighty God. In the literal sense, Gabriel means mighty God, and Michael means who is God. So, yeah. And the other reason why is that I haven't met a Christian person that can give commentary on the Mishnah Torah, because a lot of verses are ambiguous. Like, there's a verse that says, slaughter as you've been commanded. It doesn't tell you what material to use, what kind of knife, where to slaughter the animal. May they be like frontlets on your eyes. You guys don't know what a tefillin is or what it's made out of. So Deuteronomy affirms that you should listen to the Kohanim, the priests. And I believe in your Gospels as well. Jesus affirms that you should be listening to the Pharisees. And there are a lot of like Christian sects that existed from that time, like the Pharisees, the Essenes. You have
Rambo. You gotta shorten this. You gotta shorten
look into
the
Dead Sea
You gotta
Scrolls.
shorten this up,
And
bro.
no one believed in the Trinity.
Rambo. You gotta Rambo. If you're gonna be a person that just rambles on and on, bro, like
I didn't ramble, man. I made consistent points. I've done a lot of
the
TED
thing
Talks.
here's the well, this is not a
I don't think you'd be invited to it.
This is not a TED Talk platform. This is a conversation, right? So, yeah, sorry if you thought that this was like, hey, let me grab the mic and just start speaking, right? We can go one point at a time, okay? So are you currently Jewish? Is that what you are right now? Because you said you reverted from Judaism. Are you currently Jewish?
I reverted to Islam. Correct.
You reverted to Islam. Holy crap, dude! This guy is, and he's bringing it. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. So, do you believe the Torah has been corrupted? Do you believe the Torah has been corrupted?
According to the Sanhedrin.
Guys, stop muting him, please.
Let me give facts. These guys can chat GPT, maybe look it up. Okay, so according to the Sanhedrin, the Torah was reconstructed by Ezra. They affirm that Ezra mentioned that we are Bnei Elohim, and this comes from Midrashic source from Rabbi Eliezer.
Rambo.
The idea of the Torah being corrupted and reconstructed is affirmed in history. That's why they have the Masoretic text, and you read the Septuagint, right?
So you don't believe the Torah is actually
you read the original Septuagint, Torah? Sir?
You don't believe the Torah is the actual
Torah?
Torah?
The Septuagint?
All right, Rambo. Have a good day, man. See you later, bro.
If you just answer that question.
See you later, bro. Like, this is not going to go anywhere. He just wants to hear himself talk. So, see you later. Anyways, tap the screen.
What's up, brother?
What's up?
Oh, just another beautiful day.
Nice.
How are you?
Doing good. What faith are you?
I feel like I want to believe Jesus knows the way. I just don't think that anybody's following it.
So what faith are you?
What's that?
What faith are you?
I believe Jesus knows the way, but I just don't think anybody's following it.
Okay. So do you believe, what do you believe, bro? Like, what's your faith?
I believe Jesus knows the way.
All right, man. Have a good day, Sticks.
All right, dude.
All right, see you later. Question is why you're not Christian, but sounds like you might be a Christian. I don't know. So I'm just going to let you go ahead now. Go and get. Oh, crap. I just invited somebody and I don't know who you are. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I don't know who I've invited. Tap the screen. Tap, tap, tap. Do, 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 do. Yeah, it was very Christ-like. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. John, there was no seizing the opportunity. That guy was just here to talk. Just wanted to hear himself talk. That's why he started reciting the Shema in Hebrew, because he just wanted to hear his voice. That's it. He wasn't interested in talking. So, it is what it is. Just wants to hear himself ramble. What's up?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Doing good.
I'm curious. I don't know a whole lot about the Bible. I'm curious to know which parts of the Bible are firsthand accounts of people who saw Jesus after the resurrection.
Well, Mark would be one that did see him after the resurrection. Matthew would be one, and John. Luke, I'm not sure if he was there after the resurrection, but he got his accounts from people who did see him after the resurrection.
Okay, so those parts of the Bibles are all people like describing experiences with the resurrected Jesus.
Is that what I just said?
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's not what I just said.
No, I'm genuinely asking. Like because I feel like the big hump for me to answer the prompt is obviously for any of it to be true, Jesus had to actually be resurrected.
Okay.
And I just want to know like how strong the claim is. I guess how firsthand are the accounts that are in the Bible, or is it somebody 20 years later recounting other people's stories, or is it firsthand accounts? Like, I genuinely don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So John was there. Matthew was one of the disciples that was there and saw him resurrected. And then Mark, who obviously wrote Mark, he was also there. He was present. He was present during the night of the Last Supper, where they actually had the Last Supper. That was Mark's parents' house. So he was there when the crucifixion happened as well. Yeah, but he was a kid. So.
Okay. All right. So I guess that's all. I guess I got to read it. Got to read it to believe it.
Why don't you? What you need to do is you need to look into the 4 minimal facts, like historically, of Jesus. Have you heard of that?
4 minimal facts? No.
Yeah. So. Okay. So obviously, like the historical events of Jesus on the cross, resurrection. There's theology to it, and there's spiritual aspects to it, right? Supernatural things, right? Like the resurrection, that historians cannot affirm or deny, right? Because that's not their wheelhouse. The historians, they study manuscripts, they study reliability of these texts, and all that stuff, right? So there are 4 minimal facts that historians would agree with as far as like the historical events of Jesus on the cross. Okay, and this is even something atheist historians would agree. Okay, so minimal fact number 1 is Jesus died on the cross. Okay, or I'm sorry, that Jesus was a real person. Right, he existed. Okay, cool. Number 2, he died on the cross. And number 3, he was put in the tomb, and it was in fact empty after 3 days. Okay, that's the 3rd minimal fact. And then the 4th, the historians would agree that the disciples of Jesus had a genuine belief that they witnessed him bodily resurrected. They didn't make it up. They weren't making up a story to lie or anything like that. They genuinely believed it, even if some historians say that couldn't have happened. Their claims are coming from a genuine place. They themselves believed it happened. Okay, so those are the 4 minimal facts. Now the 2 questions I would ask you that the historians can't answer is, how do you explain the empty tomb, and how do you explain these disciples actually believing that they saw him resurrected? Like, what would be the explanation of that?
Right. I'm curious on the very last point, how they could come to know that they were telling the truth.
Yep.
It seems like the last point would be that people reported to see him, but to know whether or not they were lying or confused.
Great question. Here's why. Okay, so either they hallucinated all at the same time, or they were lying. Okay, so it's one of those two things, right? If you're going to deny the resurrection, it's got to be one of those two things. Okay, either they're lying or they hallucinated. Let's talk about hallucination first. Okay, so hallucination, as far as like a group of people hallucinating the same hallucination at the same time, is has never been recorded psychologically. Okay, however, it is possible. It's obviously would be extremely rare, but it is possible for it to happen. But the only way that it can happen, psychologists would say, is if there's a group of people that are grieving over the death of someone they love, which fits Jesus and his disciples, right? However, what then rules out the hallucination is the story of Paul, because Paul wasn't grieving over the death of Jesus. He was an enemy of Christians. But then he himself had an encounter that caused him to become a Christian and then be an apostle. Okay. So that would eliminate the hallucination theory. Hallucination is not possible. Second would be, are they lying? Well, yeah, they could be lying, but the question would be, what would be the motivation to lie? The motivation would have to be either schmecks, money, and power. And they gained none of those things because of this. Then to top it off, are they willing to die? How many people are actually willing to die for something they know to be a lie? If they made up this lie, people can die for a lie unknowingly that it was a lie. But the people who made up the lie, it's very rare that they would actually die for this lie. At the very least, multiple of them dying for this lie. And these apostles, all of them, were willing to die for this. So it's very unlikely that they were lying. So that's why they can conclude to the fourth minimal fact.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's just hard. It's hard for me to grapple with it without knowing what all these people said about their encounters with him. Because, you hear people today saying they have encounters with Jesus, so if Paul is writing about his encounter with Jesus in the same way that somebody today is, then that's obviously not evidence. This is a different kind of encounter.
It's not in the same way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I would just have to read about these things. And then for your point of lying, again, I don't fully understand the context of would they expect to die if they lied about this?
Yeah. So somebody so for example, right? If there's a group of people that have been lied to and they believe it, like let's say a cult, right? A leader starts a cult, he creates a lie and then convinces like 100 people of this lie, right? And then it's perfectly logical for those 100 people, if they truly believe this lie, to end up dying for that lie. Okay, that doesn't prove anything. However, if the people who started the lie, though, they know it's a lie because they're the ones that created the lie, it's highly unlikely for they themselves to die for their own lie, at least multiple of them, right? So if the resurrection is a lie, it would have to come from the apostles because they're the ones that are spreading the story. And they were all willing to die for this. So therefore, it's unlikely that it was a lie.
And there was serious pressure where this lie would result in them dying, and they were aware of that.
It did.
Oh yeah, and they ended up dying for it. Yeah, bro. The Christianity was illegal for the first 3 centuries, especially shortly after. There was an emperor named Nero. You could look it up. All right, Nero would take Christians, impale them on a stick, and then light them on fire, and he would use them as tiki torches for his little gatherings he had at his home, where he would gather his guests. This is where the term Roman candle came from.
Okay, so these apostles who died for this truth, just to make sure I have the timeline right, they had their experiences, they wrote them down, that's what's in the Bible, and then they died for telling those truths? Or they died and then somebody else wrote about these experiences?
No, they wrote it and then they died. Yeah.
They wrote it and then they died, and that's what you're reading in the Bible.
Yeah, these accounts. Yeah, Mark was they wrapped his neck in a rope and dragged him around the city until he died. John was the only one that actually lived to his old age, but he was actually exiled for his ministry. I forget how Matthew died. I know James was impaled. Peter was crucified upside down. Another one was somebody else was crucified upside down as well. Others were some were. I think one was like skinned alive. Yeah, they had horrible deaths. You could look it up. Like it's kind of crazy. Paul was beheaded. Paul was beheaded. He was like less torturous because he was actually a Roman citizen as well. So he was like, but he was beheaded. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, Bartholomew was skinned. Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate that. I knew somebody was skinned alive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Somebody was boiled too. Yeah, somebody was throwing like boiling water or oil or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And there was many more after. Like they had disciples and they also died. One of the common ways that the Roman Empire used to persecute Christians was if they were found to be a Christian, they would publicly obviously condemn them, but then they would throw them in a coliseum and have them fight lions and get eaten alive.
Right? Yeah, one Paul's first convert was actually a woman. Her name was Lydia, and she was beheaded for spreading Christianity all over Europe and Asia.
And the funny thing is, the more they were persecuted in these 3 years, the more Christianity grew, because people saw their zeal for their willingness to die for this, especially starting from the apostles.
Right. Okay. Well, I feel like you've done a good job of explaining this. Now I have the context, and I guess I just want to get more accounts of everything and kind of see exactly what all these verses say and the exact timelines of when they were written.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Just, as an atheist, I was brought up in a Christian house, but we didn't go to church, so we weren't really religious. So after going to college and just experiencing life, the obvious starting position for me personally would be to assume that none of the religions are correct in principle because there's so many of them. And that's just the logical place for me to start. And now I would have to be convinced pretty heavily to believe that somebody was dead and then brought back to life 3 days later, because that doesn't happen in our world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to, real quick, do you concede that God does exist though? Or no? You don't know that yet?
I don't think that's the type of claim we can know.
Yeah, so bro, I would encourage you, and don't get me wrong, like I think you sound like you're open-minded and you're looking, right? But I would suggest I would first be convinced as to whether there's a creator or not, whether there is a God or not first, before you even dive into these things. Because the only way you can actually be convinced of Christianity by looking at the historical evidence is be convinced first that there is a creator. Because if you have the worldview there is a creator, then it's perfectly possible for this creator to resurrect somebody from the dead, right? That wouldn't be something you'll get hung up on, right? If you don't believe that there's a God, you could look at the Christian evidence and I can totally see why somebody still wouldn't believe in Christianity, because in your mind and in your worldview, those miracles like resurrections just don't happen, right? So therefore, there would have to be another explanation. At very least, you would appeal to mystery and say, well, we don't know what happened, but something did happen. It just can't be a resurrection, right?
Yeah. I'm curious to ask you, what do you think is more likely, that there is a God that's not the Christian God, or that there's no God at all? If one had to be the case,
it has to be the Christian God, because it's the only God that takes into account of a singular God, but multi-personal.
You're saying if it were the case that the Christian God isn't real, then you would assume there is no God.
Absolutely. Yeah. There every other God that every other religion pushes actually doesn't logically follow for a creator, right? So
there's one that we haven't discovered or put into words. It's just something else.
I mean, we can always just say appeal to that. But so far, as far as like, first of all, multiple different beings that created the world, that doesn't logically follow. Okay. I'm not going to go down deep into it, but it just logically would present contradictions. So that would have to be, there would need to be a singular sole cause, like uncaused causer of everything, right? That narrows it down.
I'm actually curious what your answer is for that, because it seems like you have this causal chain that goes all the way back, unless you have a creator, which you call God. But why does there have to be one of those? Why can't there be 13 original creators?
Yeah,
If you're
because
just going to arbitrarily say that it needs an initial mover, it seems like you could make any number up you want.
yeah, because the universe, right, where space is, has to be created because we know it has a beginning. And if there are multiple different entities, that means there's space in their existence, meaning they themselves cannot be the creator. There cannot be any division within this creator if he created all of space. So, anyways, that's why there has to be one God, right? So having 13 creators doesn't make sense, because by saying there are 13 creators says they're in creation, and then saying they created at the same time, that's illogical.
Well, they exist before creation, just like God does. There's just more than one.
Brother, creation, there has to be space in creation. If the universe has a beginning, all of space, then that means whatever caused the universe, like boom, to happen, all right, has to be undivided, because division comes from space.
Yeah, he's basically saying, like, there necessarily needs to be one God, because to be before creation is to be indivisible. There's only space, time, and matter are within creation. So to be before creation would be necessarily indivisible. It's necessarily one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I do fully understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't logically track super.
No worries, bro. Like you can go figure that out for yourself. I wanted to answer your question, not go off on a tangent, like on something else. Okay. But you could take that, write it down, go find it. I'm telling you, it checks out. You don't have to believe me. Go fact check me. Okay. So, 13.
Do you want to have a conversation about why there needs to be a God, or no?
All right. I wanted to answer your question why the Christian God is necessary, but I guess you're not interested in that anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can go that route. But when you were explaining to me where I should start, you said I shouldn't start with Christianity. I should decide whether or not there needs to be a God at all. So I told you that I'm unconvinced that we can even know that.
Okay. So you're not even convinced that there needs to be a creator.
No.
Okay, cool. Well, if you want to start there, that's fine. Let's start there. So do you agree that there are concepts, like universal concepts, like the laws of logic?
I would say these are just human ideas that make sense to us, that we can't ground in anything. Whether or not they're written in the universe, I don't think we can say.
Okay. So what I mean by, you're making a lot of noise, just to let you know. What I mean by what I mean by these universal concepts is that they existed even prior to humans. Humans didn't create them. So, for example, the law of non-contradiction. Contradictions didn't exist ever, right? Would you agree?
Contradictions didn't exist ever. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So therefore, this is a concept that existed prior to humans. So it's not a concept that we created. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't like the word concept in this.
I don't care what you.
Yeah, a phenomena, maybe you call it.
A phenomena? Is it not a concept that we understand in our brain?
Yes,
okay,
it is.
Good.
But
so it's a concept.
The human brain exists, it wouldn't have been a concept.
Well, we'll get there in a second, but nonetheless, it is a concept that we understand in our brain. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So these are universal concepts. They're absolute truths. They don't change. Okay. They exist even prior to humans. Now, humans don't create universal concepts. Do you agree?
Thinking, loading. Okay, I agree.
Okay. So I just basically repeated everything I just said, but I just narrowed it down to a premise. So humans did not create universal concepts. Okay. These universal, in order for the next premise, concepts only exist in the mind. Do you agree?
Concepts only exist in a mind, yes, but I can already tell we're going to have to go back because remember, I didn't like the way that you used the word concepts when you were drawing this out. I would argue that these universal laws or whatever you want to call them, the fact that contradiction can't exist, that's not a concept. That's just something we observe, and that's just the way the universe is.
Okay, good. Concepts, do they exist in the mind?
Yes.
Okay. Can they exist anywhere else?
No.
Okay. Therefore, regardless, and I know you're going to object to this. Therefore, and we'll get to your objection. Therefore, these universal concepts, like the laws of logic or numbers, is another example, have to exist in a universal mind. Now, you're going to say that's not true. These things existed without a mind. You need to now demonstrate how they existed without a mind.
They just exist, period.
Yeah,
the mind is
good.
The minds and the concepts are just
Good.
our
Where did they?
collection of the data and the
So
labeling of
if
them.
they existed, period, that means even today they exist somewhere other than our minds. Can you demonstrate where they exist?
I feel like this is like asking, does lying exist outside of humans? Maybe that's a bad example.
It is. Can you demonstrate? Well, bro, if I'm arguing a first principle, right? If you want to prove my first principle wrong, you would need to present a reductio, right? So bring a reductio or some sort of example that would counter what I'm saying. If the laws of logic can exist without a mind, and therefore they existed before humans, not in a mind, that means today that would still stand as true. So where can you demonstrate these laws of logic existing other than a mind?
Okay. Okay. I can't.
Okay.
Let's go on.
So therefore, therefore we would conclude that concepts only exist in a mind because we can't demonstrate it existing anywhere else. Therefore, the laws of logic, those concepts, are universal and have to exist in a universal mind. That would therefore need to be God.
Okay, can this God be a computer sitting on the desk of an advanced civilization running a simulation that we're living in? I mean, that's the
no.
Like when you say God to me, it's this concept, since we're not at Christianity yet, is so foreign and unknown. All we're saying is that everything that we observe, it seems like came from a mind that has concepts, and that's completely, it's not a benevolent being by any means. It's not a personal God. It's none of these things. It's just this mystery. Granted, all of these assumptions, which if I were to go ahead and grant, leaves the door open to infinite possibilities of what this God looks like.
Yeah, if you look, bro, we can use our imaginations and create all kinds of scenarios that explanations of what this could be, right? But it just leads to insanity, bro. If you want to go ahead and believe that you're a simulation computer, or you're a brain in a vat and a scientist has just been creating your existence this whole time, right? You can go ahead and believe that if you want. I choose to be a little bit more reasonable and just go on with my life of assuming that the perceptions of my reality are something I can rely on, and then use those things that are objective away from my subjective opinion to conclude to a truth. And why? Because if my perception of reality is untrue to begin with, then I'm never going to derive to a truth ever, and that just leads to just despair. So I rather choose not to live a life of despair and live a life of where I can do the best I can to determine to what is actually reality. I'm going to go ahead and presuppose that my perception of reality is true, and then find clues of those things to lead me to what the overall truth is. So that's going to be my assumption. I thought maybe you were going to do something similar, but if you want to explore the possibility of all of your senses and all of your perception of reality of being just an illusion, go right ahead, bro. I mean, I'm not going to stop you.
I mean, our felt experience can't be an illusion. That's the one thing that can't be. I mean, but
yeah. So based on your experience, where else can these concepts exist? The laws of logic.
No, I told you I didn't have an answer for that.
Okay, well then there you go. So if you're gonna be consistent, then you follow that based on all the premises I gave you. These concepts have to exist in the universal mind, therefore it has to be God. There it is. But look, I like at the end of the day, bro. At the end of the day, you have to. If you're not going to follow that, right? Look, if you want to, I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying you have to accept that, but you would at least have to like say, you know what, let me go try to find a refutation to that, right? And that's fair. I think that's cool. But to say, you know what, I don't have an answer for that, therefore I'm going to lead. What if this is a simulation or a computer scientist? And it's like, bro, you're just being ridiculous.
I'm not saying any of that. I'm granting you, we are on the complete same page. It's just the very next step you're taking. We're both in agreement. There's a creator. There's a mind of the universe that created it. Perfect. What else? Because that doesn't tell me. When someone says God in a normal day-to-day conversation, they are packing in a whole bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with what we just talked about.
Well, here's the thing. The laws of logic, if they are absolute, unchanging, uncreated, means that they would have to have an eternal source, right? And if there's an eternal source of these things...
Why would it be eternal?
Well, can you give me an example of how the laws of logic can change?
The laws themselves might be eternal, but the source of the laws maybe just made these eternal laws.
So you think a created being can bring an eternal law?
Sorry?
So you think something created can bring an eternal law?
No, the creator that's pre-creation could make these laws, but that doesn't mean the creator itself is eternal and still around.
Brother, if these laws are eternal to your admission, then that would mean that this eternal mind that it exists, this universal mind that exists to contains them has to also be eternal.
Okay, yeah, actually, yeah.
Okay. So if you believe in something being eternal, that means you believe in something outside of time, because being eternal means you're outside of time, right? And if this is an intelligent mind, obviously anybody that can retain the laws of logic and so is an intelligent mind. This is an eternal, intelligent mind. Therefore, if there's an intelligent mind, there's rational thinking and purpose behind certain things. That means there's a purpose behind creation. That would all point towards God, bro. Like, I don't know how this is hard.
The purpose could be to get a high score in a game. You know, what purpose? Why are you assigning a purpose? How could you claim to know what that purpose is?
Yeah, so that's where we would get to theology to figure out what that purpose is. I agree with you, but nonetheless, that still points that there is a God. So
right, but from my point of view, even at this point, we're in a total agreement. There's 2 trillion galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. What would make human beings special? Why would this creator have a personal play in our lives?
Do you concede there is a creator now? Because that would be the next step to find out our purpose.
No, we've been there. Yeah, we've been there. I'm just trying to.
Okay, good. So now we're there. Now, in order to find out your purpose, you need to figure out which one.
I don't need to find out my purpose. I'm trying to find out more about this creator.
Right. Okay. Good. Which is the same thing. Nonetheless, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you over stupid little things. Fine. The purpose of the creator. No worries. To get to know the creator, bro. Bro, just chill out, man. Just let's follow the progression. I don't know why you're getting so triggered easily.
I feel like I'm doing a good job here of playing nice, and I'm just calling things out
You're calling out things that are irrelevant, bro. They're irrelevant. To move forward the conversation, it's irrelevant. So, anyways, nonetheless, okay, now you can see there is a God. Okay, now next step would be, who is this God? Right?
What?
Huh?
Okay, who? Because it's a mind. We'll call it who. Okay.
Okay. So did you just argue with yourself? But you argued with me? This is what I mean. Like you're finding little things to try to resist instead of just walking with me on this.
Okay, let's walk. I'm walking. I'll shut up.
Okay, thank you. So now we got to figure out who this God is. Now we already talked about earlier that multiple creators just wouldn't follow, because if this creator's out of time, space, and matter, that would mean there's no division, so there can't be multiple creators. That would mean they're in space, so it has to be one, indivisible. Do you follow with that? Yes?
I'll say yes.
Okay, good. That would narrow it down to 3 religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, for the most part.
Or anything else that hasn't been discovered.
Okay, good. Whatever. Okay. So we're only gonna go off of what has been discovered in this scenario. Okay. So now we're going off of 3 religions. Now, Judaism and Christianity would be along the same lines of the same God, unless you want to say modern Judaism is the same Judaism as before, which is, if you look into the history, it's incorrect. But let's just grant it. Let's just say Judaism and Christianity are not the same. And then obviously Islam is not the same either. Okay. Now, modern day Judaism, which is different from old Judaism, but whatever. Modern day Judaism and Islam both believe in a monotheistic, strict monotheistic God, which is only one person. And Christians believe in a monotheistic God, but not strict, meaning that they believe he is multi-personal, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the Trinity. When you look at all 3, the only one that would actually logically exist would be the multi-personal God. Why? Because things like all 3 gods claim to be have a property of love, but there's only one that can actually ground that property, ground that action for eternity, and that would be the Trinitarian God, because love is a multi-subject thing. There's one that loves, and there's one that receives the love. The strict monotheistic God before creation is incapable of providing that love without creation. That makes their God dependent. If he is dependent, that means he is imperfect and he can undergo change. Whereas the Trinitarian God can ground something like love for eternity without creation, independent of creation, because the 3 subjects, which would be the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, eternally love each other. So out of the 3, the only one that would logically follow, because all 3 gods claim to be love, it would be the Trinitarian God. So now it's narrowed down to Christianity.
Okay. Okay, cool. Well, now we're back to where we started, and yeah, I'll just see if I can see if there's any convincing evidence that a guy was ever resurrected, and we'll go from there.
All right, bro. Take it easy.
Okay.
The other thing is, I just thought about those other gods can ground something eternal like numbers either, like multiplicity, whereas the Trinitarian God can, because he has multiple persons. Anyways, this will probably be my last one, guys, because I got to go to work. What's up? David on YouTube, because they are singular. They're not multiple in eternity. What's up, Calm? Calm, you're on stage. Okay. All right, see you later. Oh, nobody else. He's in a hospital. Yo, it did sound like he was in a hospital, or he's at the supermarket. One or the other. I was thinking supermarket. Bryce was thinking hospital, you know, but whatever. You feel me? All right, guys. Oh, I did have a super chat earlier. I'm so sorry for whoever did the super chat. Thank you, Mario. Allah has 99 attributes, but logic isn't one. God bless you, bro. Yeah, that's true. Allah has 99 attributes, and logic is not one. This is true. This is true. Man, we did not hit the super chat goal today. First time in like 2 weeks, but that's okay. I appreciate it anyway. Appreciate all the love that you guys been showing. The streak has ended. We'll start a new streak tomorrow because I got to go. But thank you guys for all the love. Thank you guys for all the support on TikTok, all the support on the YouTube. I have no goal. Oh, I didn't put the goal up. You're right. That's my fault. The goal is on the ticker though. Yeah, like it's $20 every day. $20. So we're at $2 for today. So 18. Yeah, I didn't put you're absolutely right, man. I didn't even actually put the goal on YouTube. So that's my fault. So anyways, my fault. The streak ended. But anyways, I do got to run. Don't forget, guys, to hit the follow button on Peace right now. She's on the panel. She got a little plus sign. Hit the plus sign. She is going to be going live in a couple of hours with Dom. It is Trinity Tuesday. Okay, Trinity Tuesday. So she will be going in on the Trinity with Dom. And oh my gosh, guys, the streak has not ended. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Logan. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much. We're good now. Okay, we're good. The streak has not ended. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate that. All of this helps out to keep things going. My first month on YouTube completed, being monetized completed yesterday. It went really well, and I missed the first 10 days of May. It went really, really well. So thank you guys for the explosion on YouTube, because if the month of June is very promising, we have some things coming. That's really, really going to help us. Obviously, Peace and I are working to come together, get married, and do content together. And we want to do this full time. All of this helps us towards that. Okay. All of it helps us. So thank you. Because even right now with YouTube, it's going to help us out. I think the month of June is going to help us out a lot if we keep growing at this pace. Okay. So thank you guys so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. A couple things I want to announce. Okay. Bible study last night on the Discord was absolutely amazing. Okay. Because of the numbers are growing there, and you guys are enjoying it, which I'm glad. It's every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I did record it this week. I didn't have technical difficulties. Hello, my queen. I didn't have any technical difficulties or anything, so I did record it. So therefore, I am going to take the video at some point, maybe today, if not tomorrow, and I'm going to post it on YouTube. I have a playlist for it, but I'm going to make a specific video for this because I am going to break down the genealogy of Matthew. Okay. Or I did. I'm not going to. I did. Okay. So I'm going to post it on YouTube. I think it's going to be a good video for everybody, even if you're not part of the Bible study. Okay. So I'm going to post it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, learn something from it. But if you want to be a part of the Bible study, everyone's invited. My Discord's free. The Bible study's free. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday. We're going to go through the entire book of Matthew, even if it takes me to the end of the year. Okay. So I'm going to take my time with it because I want you guys to get the most out of it. Okay. So we're diving deep into it. Everyone's enjoying it. Everybody's having a good time. So anyways, so Bible study, all good. Okay. The other thing is, if you guys missed my live stream Saturday night, or our live stream, Peace and I, we have this idea of we're going to host people and get to know them, people that we know are good apologists, and get to know them and then pick their brain somehow, like either a reaction video or whatever other ideas that we have. Okay. Later today, I'm going to give you guys some candidates on YouTube. Okay. For you guys to vote of who you would like to see us bring next. Okay. So I have a couple of ideas. Peace gave me some ideas. I have some ideas of my own and everything. So I'm going to make a list of these people, and I'm going to put the voting poll on YouTube to see who you guys want us to see next, so I can reach out and see who will be the next guest. Okay. It was an extremely successful night with Bryce J. I've been going to other lives and people have been saying, like, I didn't understand the debate or the Trinity with Logic and Libiano until I saw that stream. And now it makes sense to me. It went over my head, but I appreciate it. That's what I was looking for. That was the goal. So the fact that you guys are getting something from this, every guest that I bring, I want to bring value of what their strengths are to do that for you guys, so you guys can learn a little bit more, okay, to make this educational. So Peace and I, we have this idea that we're going to do this. I would like to do it weekly. I don't know if we can or not. Depends on our guests, but we're going to try. We're going to try to do it as often as we can. Let's just put it that way. Okay. So I do want to do this stream again with someone else, and we'll see what happens. Also, tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be on YouTube with King Sylv. He wants me to debate with him with some Muslims. So we're going to debate some people together, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. I don't know if it'll be YouTube and TikTok. Don't quote me on that, but it'll definitely be on YouTube. Okay. So I will be doing that tomorrow night as well. Cotriti, thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you, gang. All right, so I will be doing that as well. Look out for the poll. We'll be doing that as well. There was something else I needed to announce, and I forgot. Yeah, let me get you the message. Message is, I love you, bro. Love you too, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Appreciate you so much. I feel like I'm missing an announcement, guys. I'm so sorry. There was something else I wanted to announce. If I remember, I don't know. I'll remember it tomorrow. So I can't think of it, anything. But thank you. Thank you guys for all the support once again. Appreciate it. I think I got through everything. Thank you for not letting the streak die. Appreciate you guys. I got to remember tomorrow to put the goal up on YouTube, because I did do a terrible job today doing that. All right, guys. Well, God bless. Make sure you follow Peace on the way out. Hit the follow button on that, on her. And yeah, God bless. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, now and forever, to the ages of ages. Amen. All right. Have a good day, guys.